Okay, and welcome back to our C++ programming course. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about functions and parameters, how we can use functions and parameters. There are two keywords that I want you to keep in mind for this course. Now, we're going to talk about what is a parameter and what is an argument. Often, these two keywords are interchanged or mistaken for one another. I'm going to explain what is a parameter and what is an argument in this video. Now, previously we started creating our custom functions, and we had a function that's printed out number, all right, the sum of a number, and also printed out a greeting. So here I'm going to create a function that actually also do the same, calculate two numbers, and then we come up with the concept of parameters. So I'll say int sum, and then remember we add our parentheses, and then I will say cout maybe 3 plus 4. Okay, this is going to be the sum of whatever the function. So we call the function right here, and then the calculations or computations will be done for us. So when we run it, we're expecting 7. Yeah, so we have 7 right here. Now, when we talk about parameters, now the reason why this is called what we have array, usually in mathematics and others we call it a bracket, but here we call it parentheses, and the reason why we call it parentheses is here. Now, in between this parentheses, we can write our parameters. All right, so we write the parameters inside. So anything that we add inside these parentheses, we call them the parameters. Now, whatever we write inside also acts like a variable. So think of the concept of variables. They store their memory spaces in the computer, and they store values. So whatever we're going to put inside here are going to store values for later retrieval for our computation. So I can decide to say that the parameters I have here. Now, in this function, I want to calculate two numbers. So I have to now pass a parameter that's going to hold two numbers. In other words, it's going to be a variable that's going to hold two numbers. So I will say first number, and then second number. All right. So remember, we need to declare the data type of what we're going to receive here. So we add our data type right here. So we have our data type first number. There's an integer, and then an integer of a second number. Remember, here you cannot add space. There's a variable name. So I'm going to do the camel casing to separate the first and then the number. So first number and then second number. And right here, I'm supposed to do the calculations based on the variable. So remember that if you have, let's say, a number like int a equals 5 and then int b equals 6, when you want to add them together, you just do cout a plus b. All right, so that is it. That is what we're going to do. So here we're going to see out the first number and then the second number. So I will say first number plus second number. All right, I just use this for an example. I'm going to write them here from here. Okay, so I'm adding the first number and then the second number. These are variables, but you can actually see that there are no values attached to them. We have not initialized any values to the variables, the first number and then the second number. So how can we make them work? So this is where the argument comes in. All right, the argument. So the argument are the values we are going to assign to the variables, which are the parameters. So we assign arguments to parameters, sort of values to variables. So we will now look at them from here. When we are calling the function, that is where we would now have to give our initial or give the values to them. So in the integer first number position, we're going to add our first number. So let's say our first number is going to be 5. And then we are not done. We have other parameter as well. So you have to put in two arguments. So the number of parentheses, or the number of parameters you create, will determine the number of arguments you have to submit to them. So we have the second number to be, let's say, 10. All right, so we add the argument when we are calling the function, and so this is going to do our calculations for us. So when we run it, okay, so we have 15 right here. All right, hither to this, I want to remove one of the arguments, and then we see that we're going to have an error which will tell us that it requires two arguments, but only one was given. So when we run it, you say that there's an error that says that too few arguments to function int sum, and then it's giving us, so showing us where the error is. That is at line 14. We need to submit two to them, not one, because we declared two parameters and not one. So we have to now give it the value, which is the argument. So we're going to have 7 right here. So this is what we have. So you can see that the int first number and second number are within that function, and this is what we call the local parameters, or the local. So just understand this way. You're not going off or above the scope of this course to talk about global variables, but we may talk about it in later course. But this is how we initialize it. Good. So I'm going to declare another function to say greet. Okay, so greet, and then you say name. All right, so we're going to say greet name, and then we come back right here to say cout good morning, and then we'll add name to it. So good morning name, and when we are calling the function, I'm going to get rid of this. When we are calling the function greet, we will submit the name to it. So good morning, this I'm going to pass right here. When I run, I'm expecting good morning Godfred. So I'll run it. Name was not declared in this scope, so let me see what we have right here. Good morning. Okay, so yes, that's because you don't have a data type attached to this, so you need to specify the data type. So you're going to have string data type to name. So when we run it, don't forget the data type. Okay, so now good morning Godfred is printed out right here. Now in the future, you can decide to change the name. So when I change the name to my name, I've changed it to Franklin. It's going to say good morning Franklin. Now I told you to think of the parameters as variables, and then the argument as values. So this is how working with functions and parameters work in C++. So thank you for watching up to this point. If you have not subscribed, do well to subscribe to this channel for more videos. We are uploading each and every week to support your course and whatever you're doing. Try to give us a comment, whatever you think about it. Let's share with others and make progress. All right, thank you for watching up to this point. We'll be back in the next video.